Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rahma. Michael is the author of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
And the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. And this is Friday already. This has been a fast week. And we have a call-in number of 646-200-4169. Give us a call with your questions and answers. And we actually already have someone waiting on the switchboard. And today is day 75 of Memorial Weekend. Hi, Michael.
Hey, sweetie. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're delighted that you're here. Our celebration of Memorial Day, we've been inviting everybody each day to pick one issue in your life that you're willing to look at and be responsible for that involves some form of hostility or fear for you, and be willing to apply forgiveness to that hostility or fear. If you're not familiar with what we mean by forgiveness, it has nothing to do with letting others off the hook. It's the tool with which you go inside yourself and remove what never belongs. So, welcome to the show, Jeanie. We have a caller. Let's talk to our caller.
We do. We have Amy, area code 814. You're on the air.
Hello, Amy. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. My question is relationship issue. I don't quite know how you...
I can hardly hear you, Amy. Can you speak a little louder?
This is the first time that I've listened to your show.
Welcome.
So I don't know how you work your show in that.
Well, basically, what we're here to do is to support people in the process of healing, and the main tool that we offer is the tool of forgiveness. If you're near a computer, you could go to our website, www.whyagain.com, and there you'll see on the right-hand side a link that says Download Worksheets. And if you go to the Download Worksheets link, that will explain the first three links under that will give you the worksheet itself and explain the process. And there's a link from a former or an earlier radio show that we did explaining how the process works, actually where we walk someone through that worksheet process. But basically, what our objective is to support people in learning how to free themselves from every form of hostility or fear that is imaginable. And the tool for doing that is called forgiveness. Where did you hear about the show?
From the Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, cool. Well, we're delighted that you're here. So do you have a question for us? Is there something going on in your world that you need some support with in healing?
Yes, a relationship issue. Basically, somebody that took advantage of the situation.
Can you speak up a little bit? You're fading a little.
A relationship issue that somebody had taken advantage of the situation with me and basically lied to me.
Right.
That I thought it was more than what it really was, I guess. Than what it really is.
So you felt like there was more to the relationship. There was more to the relationship than there ended up being. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And what does that bring up for you? How do you feel as a result of having gone through that?
Humiliated, basically, and hurt. I went through surgery and that, and I expected the person at least to acknowledge that I was getting surgery done and tell me that, that I wish you at least, I hope everything goes okay, regardless of the, the circumstances, and he didn't even have the compassion to do that, and that's where, even if things were over between us, at least tell me that much, and he didn't do that. So that's where it really bothers me the most.
Okay. So then, in the context of the work that we do, if you think about, or you let yourself tap into and feel that hurt from that revolves around that situation, if you tap into that hurt and you really, get a sense of it, is that a hurt that you knew before you ever met this person? Or have you felt that hurt previously?
I don't know. Maybe trust. A trust hurt.
Say again?
No. Maybe yes and no. I'm probably too trusting with people, where I usually try to see the best in somebody and think that everybody is what, they say that they are. That I don't try to look at the bad in somebody, that I always see them for, I always try to see them that what they say they are, that they truly are,
Mm-hmm.
And not that they're deceitful.
Right. So then, what the invitation would be to look at the situation from the point of view of, and the title of my book, I don't know if you're familiar with it, is Why Is This Happening to Me Again? You can go to the website and you can download the book free. And it looks at the fact that we are, by nature, creators, and that we create results in our lives. And when things don't turn out the way we would like them to turn out, what tends to happen is we take a part of ourselves that we've kind of said, well, I don't really want to deal with this hurt. I don't really want to deal with this pain. And we use that part to set up circumstances, and then the circumstance seems to kick us in the limitation, and there we are back in that pain. And the forgiveness process that we teach is an ancient Aramaic process where you go inside yourself and you look at the source of that trauma that is internal, and as you forgive, as you apply the tool of forgiveness, you work through or let go of that hurt so that you don't have to create that kind of a situation again, that you don't walk into that situation once again. And if someone, plays out the fraud of pretending to be something that they're not, that you stand as a space of connectedness in your human beingness. And, we define a human life rather simply, and that is, if you've ever held a newborn child, you know what a human life is. It is the active presence of love. That's what we are. And too often we forget who we are because we carry around inside of us oftentimes generational hurts. And when an event happens and we blame that situation for that hurt, we give over our own awareness of ourselves as love to that hurt. And so the forgiveness process is about removing, weakening the hurt that we carry, instead of what most people do is build hurt upon hurt upon hurt upon hurt, and always thinking that it's the situation externally that causes the hurt, rather than recognizing that the hurt is caused by something that's internal. And as I say on the right-hand side of the website, you might want to take a look at the the download worksheet section, and as you read through the first download, the downloads are all free. The first download is a copy of Chapter 24 from my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And it goes into explaining and describing the forgiveness process. So you might want to read that over, download the worksheet. That's the second link. And then there's a really awesome MP3 of a show that we did about a week and a half ago now, of a young lady who had a lot of pain around the fact that, and hurt around the fact that she was going to lose quite a bit of money over an executor not properly taking care of her house, that she was the inheritor of, and the value of it dropped. And as she began the forgiveness process, we actually did that live on the show, as she went through that, the next thing that came up was an event that had happened in her life 20 years earlier where there was tremendous pain and she had something major taken from her. And then the third step in that process was for her to uncover how that related to her relationship with her father. And all of a sudden she comes out the other side connected to love, connected to her human life, and starts to wash the energies of those three experiences out of her field, and that's what we call forgiveness. So that third link under that download worksheet section, I think you'd find very empowering to see how the process is done and how it works. And what happens is it shows you how to uncover the parts of ourselves that most of us just kind of, keep hidden. We don't really want to own them. And, of course, life comes along and kicks us in the limitation, and we feel that. And then we, blame life. We get away from whoever or whatever we think causes it, not realizing that we're taking with us that very hurt that we so deeply don't want to deal with. So forgiveness is about going inside yourself and literally deleting the very capacity to hurt over whatever somebody else does and maintain your original essence, which is the absolute awesome presence of love, no matter what's going on in your world. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
So what I invite you to is to go to the website and download those from those three links, and start using the worksheet process. And as you do, if there are any questions, we'd be absolutely delighted to support you in any questions that you have about it and going through the process. But I think those three links would give you the background for how to move into and begin to use the ancient Aramaic forgiveness process. It's kind of like the delete key for pain and trauma.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Amy,
Okay.
thank you for your call.
Okay,
All right.
thank
Hope
you.
it's a blessing. All righty. Delighted.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Michael, we have another caller, and then we have a comment in the chat room.
Cool. Let's go for it.
Okay. Mona, you're on the air.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Mona. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Delighted you're here. How can we support you?
Are you doing any type of reading today, too?
No. I think you're looking for Carol's show. Carol does, on the Angel Radio Network, does readings, but that our thing is more about learning the self-healing process and the forgiveness that we've been talking about.
Okay, well, then I'll stay with you because I'm going through a lot of things right now. And I'm having a hard time. I'm going through a lot of things right now, so I'm having a hard time letting go and forgiving somebody right now, to where my mind, I just feel consumed with. I just want to, with anger, like all day long.
So our first order of business, Mona, would be to say, please don't ever forgive that person. Forgiving someone else is an impossibility. We've been taught a false idea of forgiveness. We've been taught that forgiveness is about, I have all this pain inside of me, and it's their fault, but it's okay, I'll forgive them. We're not going to suggest that you forgive them. What we're going to suggest you do is download those links and start to use the reality management forgiveness worksheet that's there. And what that does, the same question that I just asked Amy, I would ask you, if you look at the anger that you're feeling in that situation, have you ever, before you ever met this person, did you know this quality of anger?
Yeah, but I also went through like a self-help thing, so I know better, I do know better, and I know how I should handle it, but I'm just, I feel like my time is just consumed with this person, and I'm just really angry and an abandonment issue, and,
Right. So then what I'd suggest you do is you download the worksheet and you start to work on this issue of abandonment with this person in mind. And what we'll offer to you is that your anger is in fact a drug. Hostility is a way that we produce internal chemicals to anesthetize against pain so that we don't have to feel the pain. And when you let go of the anger, you're going to come face to face with it, with whatever the pain is. And it sounds like the pain is something around, I'm not valuable enough, I'm not good enough, people don't value me, and I'm abandoned. And as you utilize that forgiveness process that's on the website, what you'll find is that you'll drop down into deeper parts of your mind until you find that root thought with which you're causing pain inside yourself. And as I said to Amy, the average person will deny and suppress or dissociate from that pain by using forgiveness. What we're going to suggest you do, rather than forgiving someone else because you have pain, is we're going to suggest that you use the forgiveness process to drop down inside your own mind to the hidden part of it. And once you touch into the hidden part of it, and around abandonment and anger, usually the hidden thought that is the real root of the pain is something like, people don't value me, or I don't value myself, I'm not good enough, and all the variations on the theme that might be in that realm. And when you can drop directly into that part of your mind that holds that thought, you can change that thought. And I'd offer that's where the root of the pain is. If you don't ever change that thought, one of the things we talk about in our main workshop, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? I had the blessing about 30 years ago of getting to work with a fellow named Marcel Vogel, who was a 23-year senior scientist from IBM. And Marcel literally had a camera in his laboratory with which to take a picture of the high energy waves that leave the mind when we think a thought. So if I hold a thought, for instance, I'm not good enough, people always reject me. And then what happens is I literally set up an energetic field that carries the information based in that thought. And because we live in an energetic world, I'm going to draw somebody to me who will play that thought out with me. So it's kind of, I like to call that high energy wave the psychic megaphone. So when I decide I'm going to go and look for a relationship and I carry that kind of dissociated thought inside of me, that kind of a hidden thought, I'm kind of sending out a signal that goes sort of like this. Hey, world, I'm not very valuable and people don't usually honor me, so I need somebody who will come into a relationship with me that will prove to me that's true. And, of course, there's always a volunteer. There'll be somebody who will be pulled in, and that person may even really cherish me, honor me, really want to be there to support me. But if I keep setting up that field of, well, in order to prove this part of me true, you have to go away, they don't even know what it is that inclines them to go away, but they turn tail and go away. And there I am, feeling the way that deeper hidden part of my mind feels. If I can forgive, then I'll go into that hidden part of my mind and I'll remove it. That'll be the end of that message being sent out that says, I only go into relationship with people who will reject me. And then all of a sudden, once I've gone in and healed that part of me that for whatever reason, maybe as a kid, dad wasn't there, mom wasn't there, or they weren't there the way I wanted them to be, and I made it up that it was my fault that they weren't there and I don't deserve to have somebody there for me. Once I touch into that and I remove that from me, my pain is gone. And when my pain is gone, I no longer create my life out of that pain. So that's what that whole forgiveness process is about. That's what the Aramaic idea, if you go back into the Aramaic thing, you hear them saying, you must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother. And through the Greek translations, that kind of sounds sort of, like a bleeding heart statement, forgive from your heart. But they weren't saying that. The word heart there in Aramaic would be the equivalent, of our modern word unconscious. You must remove from your unconscious the part of you that you're using to build your brain's image of your brother. And when you do, when you're able to access that, then you're able to remove it. As long as that stays in the unconscious, as long as it stays hidden, it becomes a very powerful creative dynamic, and people who never learn to forgive, to remove that creative dynamic, get to live the title of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And, of course, as I say, you can go online and download the book free. There are videos, there are audios. There's a particularly powerful radio show from about a week or so ago that's under that section, Download Worksheets. It's the third link under Download Worksheets, and you'll hear me guiding a young lady through the whole worksheet process. And, I mean, when you hear the shifts that she makes, it's absolutely awesome. She was extremely courageous to come on the show and share some pretty personal, difficult things that she was going through. And then just, click, click, click. You can see the effectiveness of the worksheet at working through those things. So that would be my invitation to you is go and get those things off the website. And then as you start putting the pen to the paper to use the worksheet, if there are any questions about it, we'll be absolutely delighted to help you, to support you in doing the process and learning to clean out that part of your own mind that holds that kind of pain. Now, as far as forgiving them, again, the culture's taught us a false idea. What's happened is we've been taught to pardon in place of forgiveness. So I have pain and I pardon you. I let you off the hook. That's a nice thing to do. But if we call pardoning forgiveness, what we're saying is, I have all this pain inside of me because of what you did, but it's okay, I'll let you off the hook. And that never addresses or changes the part of me where I hold this pain.
Right.
The original idea of forgiveness is how I address the part of me that holds this pain and pulls me out of my true being, which is, you are made of somebody, when you came out of the womb, took you in their hands and looked at you and went, what an awesome presence of love. That's the stuff you're made of. And the world teaches us to give that up. And what we're here to support you in doing is restoring yourself to that original awesome presence of love that you are.
What about the other person that I want to, that I, have this feelings toward, always has negative or says a bunch of things about themselves that, well, I don't matter anyway, and you don't want to be with me, and it's really not the case that way. And it's like I really get angry about them kind of comments like that, and it's like, why do you got to keep saying stuff like that?
Well, that's exactly an example of what I'm speaking of, Mona, is that you've got somebody, we call it, there's a workshop that we do called Healing Through Relationships, and in that workshop we call that relationships based in matching bags of garbage. So this person that you're in a relationship with holds a similar thing in their minds to the one that you do, and that is that I'm not worthy, I don't deserve. And so we tend to pull people in with those patterns that kind of match ours. If I've got the sadness and grief about not being good enough, I'll pull somebody in who gets really angry over not being good enough. And then we'll play off of each other, and each one of us will successfully be able to blame the other for what's going on inside, instead of each one of us stepping up to the plate and saying, I keep coming across this thing where I feel valueless, and I think that you don't want to be with me, and yet you're standing there saying you want to be with me. Why do I feel you don't? Well, the reason, if I'm that other person, the reason I feel that you don't want to be with me is because I hold thoughts that I'm not worth being with. And until I uncover and forgive, remove those thoughts, then I'm going to keep playing them out. It's just, it's the same example as the psychic megaphone message, only this person is verbally saying it to you. It's reflecting what they're holding in that level of the mind that was called the heart or the unconscious. And
I think what's frustrating about this...
Say again?
I think what's frustrating about the whole thing is that he was never taught any type of tools in life regarding this stuff, you know?
Right.
And it's just frustrating because I was. I mean, my mom brought us up on a bunch of different things, you know?
Right.
And so this person doesn't, you know.
So what you
I
might
can't get
do,
through to this person at all, you know?
So I have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
How about downloading the MP3 that I was talking about? And the way you download it is to go to www.whyagain.com.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right-hand side, 4 or 5 items down, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. Click on that.
Okay.
And then download the third link is an MP3 of a radio show a week or so ago. And why don't you download that, save it on your computer, maybe make a CD of it, and then invite that person to listen to it with you.
Okay.
And that might help them to build the brain cells for, look what we're doing to each other and to ourselves.
Right.
And then the next step is, and this is where we have a workshop called Healing Through Relationships. Actually, when I first started to do that workshop, I used to call it Healing Your Relationships. And then I realized in my own process, in my own life, there's no such thing as a diseased relationship. Every relationship perfectly reflects exactly what it is that we hold in our minds. And so through our interaction, what can happen is, if I were that other person, let's say it's you and I were that other person who says, well, you know, you don't want to be with me anyway, I'm not any good, so bother. Then what happens is, instead of just bouncing off of each other's painful parts, we can start to build a support system for how to heal those parts. And as we heal, just awesome things begin to happen. Awesome changes begin to occur. And you get the opportunity in relationship with someone else to start to move through those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That makes sense?
That's a good suggestion. That's what I'll do with the MP3 thing. So that's what when I'm around them again and I can do that, I would like to do that, you know.
Yeah, I think you'd find that really worthwhile. And where it would be difficult to hear from him on that MP3, he might be able to hear, there's a way to work through these things.
Right.
Awesome. Let's go for it. Let's do it. And, once you get
just
that
a friendship to come back to talk to each other, you know.
Say again?
I said, if anything, just a friendship to talk to each other again in the right way, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's part of what happens is there are tools in that workshop for how to do that. And, for instance, the tool that we teach in that workshop is called My Commitment. Now, imagine that you and he are in relationship, and when these things come up, imagine that each of you was able to say to the other, and I'll just ask you to imagine that we've just been through a conflict. Imagine that you and I in that relationship, I'm that person. And so instead of me blasting into your face, well, you don't want to be with me anyway, so what the hell, I'm just going to leave. How about if I said to you, gee, Mona, I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth and be true to you. I commit to always be sweetness in your life, to nurture you daily, and to treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect in my thoughts, my words, and my actions, whether I'm in your presence or not. In every interaction, I commit to affection for you, to look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you, and to surrender to love our true nature. My connection to my source, my relationship with you, and our serenity will always be more important than any issue. I open my heart to embrace you in my love, and I open my heart to be embraced in your love. If anything less than love comes up in us, I will hold this in my heart and listen as I learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for my own realities. I'm here for and with you, I promise to keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we celebrate life, heal, and grow together. Would you join me in that? Imagine if you had that tool in your relationship.
Yeah.
Well, you don't like me anyway. I'm just out of here.
Yeah.
But the world hasn't taught us those tools. That's on
right.
our website. You go to our website and download that, and email it to him, sign it, and email it, and like, how would you like to create a relationship based on this? And it just makes for awesome differences in the way that we work. And we live in a culture that's so bizarre that it takes this newborn, awesome presence of love and starts to put the thumbprints of rage and fear and anger and hatred and a lack of self-worth, blockage of truth about self, starts to put those thumbprints on us. And we actually, there's a workshop we do called Codependence to Interdependence where we show how we actually take on an identity that looks like something that we aren't, that's less than love. And our relationships are the awesome space and opportunity to start to move through those things instead of blame each other when we're doing it.
Right.
I also want to download that commitment from the website. It's free on the website. It's actually in a number of different languages there. And, print it off and sign it and write a note and send it with someone that there's some estrangement with and just say, hey, how about we start our relationship new and let's look at saying something like this to each other every day and starting to make this the habit in our relationship instead of the stuff we've been doing.
Right. Okay. I will definitely do that.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you so
I would
much.
be absolutely delighted if you would get back to us with the result of that and do some of those worksheets and watch what happens. It's just amazing.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for the call.
appreciate
We're delighted and honored. Blessings.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Michael?
Hey, Jeanie, any question or thought in the chat room?
Well, actually, Nene is in there, and she just said that, she says, I did my mind shifter about relationships this morning. Took an hour and 15 minutes. A lot of things came out of the hostility and fear thing. I saw myself struggling to be heard and taken into consideration among my siblings, mostly men in my early years, memories of sadness, power of struggle with my brother. He was the one with all the rights and recognition. She's got that in quotes. A man, etc. So I asked Ripka to guide me into my greatness and truth. I feel more enthusiastic and see things from a loving perspective, and I'm ready to be a space of love for myself, my family, to enjoy joyful relationships with anyone. And by the way, I missed the food.
By the way,
I missed the food.
yeah, well, for those who wonder what that comment means, Nene is someone that was here at our 16-day teacher or 17-day teacher training that finished last week, and Jeanie is in the kitchen preparing this absolutely awesome food, and so that's what Nene is referring to, having missed the food. But I understand, Nene. I actually have this awesome plate sitting right here in front of me. I haven't gotten to eat it yet, but I'm on my way to it. So I'm so delighted that you've touched in, and for the two callers that just called, Nene, thank you for sharing what you're seeing as you do your forgiveness work around a similar issue. Actually, if you weren't on the show yesterday, Nene called in and is working through some fear. She's had some traumas in relationships and is working through some fear about going into another relationship. And as she used the forgiveness process, what does she do? She goes back, and there it is. She's in touch with her brothers. And, we tend to kind of organize things in files, and so if I have a brother and, the male authority, let's say it's a brother that's a couple of years older than I am, is abusive, then the tendency will be out of my file on male relationships and authorities, I'll tend to draw somebody in who's going to be abusive to me. And if they're not abusive, I will still see them through that file, and I will accuse them of abuse. If you've ever been in a relationship where somebody accuses you of something that you absolutely didn't do, of saying something that you absolutely didn't say, do you know why they accuse you? because in their dissociated mind is that very experience, and because they can't face it directly, it gets projected onto you. And so, Nene, awesome catch to see how your relationship with your brothers has contributed to fear of entering a new relationship today and being willing to forgive that. And again, the forgiveness process is that of removing those things so that I can courageously and bravely, out of my true being, which is love, again, this awesome presence, step into relationship. And when conflict surfaces, if I'm feeling some form of disturbance or upset, I'll stop and say, I have conflict or disturbance, rather than you made me feel conflict or disturbance. And when I can say that, and my partner can say, yeah, I've got some conflict and disturbance going on too. How about if we learn to support each other in forgiving? If something less than love comes up, how about I'll hold you in my heart while you hold me in your heart? We'll each learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for our own realities, the output of our own minds. We'll be here for and with each other. Keep communication open rather than shut down and separate. We'll keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we heal and celebrate life. And the time when I'm most going to want to separate and not have anything to do with the person who's my support is the time when I'm in touch with the deepest, most painful part of me that I don't want to deal with. And that's the most important time to be in touch and to be there. So that's just kind of a taste, a morsel of the work and what we're here to support you in. Jeanie, any other comments in the chat room or phone calls?
Nene just wrote, my thought was, I'm a girl, no chance to have a peaceful relationship. That was my thought. Ugh, I just got it. I'm breathing. I'm ready for a still point. Ha-ha, hooray.
All right. Well, we'll hold the space. Actually, Nene, tonight in the Laws of Living Intensive, we're going to breathe. So perhaps if you've got the space, it'll probably be sometime around 7 o'clock. We're going to get together and breathe. You might just kind of tap in. Imagine you're right back here in the Heart Center, and you're with a group doing some still point work. And the still point breath, for anyone who doesn't know what that is an awesomely powerful way to open those deeper parts of the mind where we tend to hide things and to breathe through and work through those things. So Nene, you might want to do that. That would be fabulous to have you join us in breathing tonight. Is Dr. Tim with us?
No, he's not. And Nene says, wonderful, 7 p.m. is perfect for her.
Awesome. So 7 here, of course, will be 8 o'clock there in Florida.
Right.
Awesome.
And there's
cool.
another person in the chat room that just asked where the worksheets were, and so I gave them the link, whyagain.com/worksheets.php, and the first 3 links, and they say thank you.
Cool.
So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. If you have any questions, give us a call.
And, you know, when you look at forgiveness as it was originally meant to be, it's almost unheard of on our planet. It's like it's become non-existent. And so to listen to the MP3 that Jeanie's talking about on the website, it is a workshop, a live show that we did about a week or so ago with a young lady, and I don't know if Lynn might be with us today. I just acknowledge her courage, speaking about some of her own challenges, just right out on public radio, and the willingness, the bravery of your heart, Lynn, is fabulous and inspiring to all of us. And I've had so many people who have listened to that, who've come back and just are so connected by your willingness, connected by the work that you did that day. So it is awesomely powerful, and I certainly acknowledge you and thank you for the opportunity to support you in that healing. So any other thoughts there or communication in the chat room?
That's all that's out there right now.
Okay. Fabulous. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening. We are in, of course, in Heartland in Theodosia, Missouri right now. If you're not sure where that is, we're in the Ozarks in southern Missouri, about, an hour due east of Branson. And we're in the middle of our intensive season. Actually, this one's well underway. We'll finish this on the 20th of August. And on the 20th, I'll be heading to Chicago. Dr. Tim has arranged for us in Cary, Illinois, just up on the northwest side of Chicago, to do a week of free workshops. We'll actually start on Sunday. We'll do Sunday afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. And then Saturday we'll actually do a paid workshop. There's one workshop when we travel that we do charge a fee for. It's an all-day. It'll start at 8 in the morning, go till about 6 at night, called MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. So if you're in the Chicago area, you'd certainly be most welcome to come and join us for the free workshops and, of course, the Saturday workshop as well if you choose to do that. So we'll be doing that week. We're actually looking for a venue to maybe do a second week in the Chicago area. So if you know anybody anywhere there might be a group that might want us to present. When we present like that, we're free. We pay our own expenses. The workshops are free. So if you want to join us for that. And then we'll be heading back to Theodosia, and on the 16th of September, we'll begin a 9-day intuitive development workshop. And in that 9-day intuitive development, we'll do the forgiveness work. So we'll do Why Is This Happening to Me Again? We'll do that workshop. We'll do the workshop MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. And the rest of it is intuitive development. And intuitive development is a practicum. It's a workshop where we go through a number of exercises where what you're doing is you're continuously getting feedback on the intuitive faculty. And we define intuition as the ability to be aware of information or energy patterns around you without recourse to your mind. So you go to the information directly, and what happens in the intensive is that you get feedback when your intuition's on target, so you get to sharpen that feedback mechanism and really tap into your higher faculty of intuition. And so anybody who might be interested in joining us for that, that will be a residential workshop at Heartland that will begin on the 16th of September and go through the 24th. And if you're not familiar with what we do, the cost of an intensive at Heartland, basically we do this awesome, which Jeanie's preparing, this awesome gourmet, vegetarian, fresh and raw food. And as Nene said, I'm missing the food already. We actually have meat eaters who will come to an intensive and they'll say, you know, I'm not going to eat any dead animals for 9 days. Are you crazy? And then at the end of 9 days, they say, if I could eat like this all the time, I would never eat dead flesh again. So it's really powerful, and if you feel like you want to join us for that workshop, it'll start on the 16th. And basically, the cost of a 9-day intensive for food, accommodations, workshop materials, everything totally included, is $175 a day. So a 9-day intensive is $1,575, and basically you bring your toothbrush and your sheets and your towel and, you know, casual clothes to wear, and everything else is totally included. So we'd be delighted to have you join us for that, and that'll start on the 16th of September. And then we head to Florida, and we'll be touring Florida. So if you know any place in Florida would like us to present, we're going to be heading down there sometime probably late October, November, and that will be travel time in Florida. That's where we'll be touring this year. So, Jeanie, anything happening in the chat room or on the website? Or pardon me, on the phone?
Nene said that the other day when she went to do the TV talk show on Creating Consciously, the previous segment on the television show, she said, was a Catholic priest, and he was asked, why should you be afraid of God if God is love? And he said, well, it's meant to be that you have respect for God. And then he said that when we're children that we're angry, that anger is natural and that we're born in anger. And so when she got to do her segment, she made it real clear that anger was learned and that our true nature is love, and the tool of true forgiveness was a way to liberate ourselves from any hostility or fear, even generational. That's pretty cool.
Hooray for you, young lady. Nice work. That's pretty powerful. Fabulous. And you're right on track. Actually, I was reading a blog today about a person that's in the supplement business in Texas, and they're trying to shut this person down because they're, basically being successful in producing healing without the use of pharmaceuticals. And a court official said to them, quote, "This system is based on fear, and the problem is you have no fear." That's what a state court official actually said to this guy. This system is based on fear, and you have no fear. I mean, does it get much crazier than that? That we have a system of officials who want us to function out of fear? And, it's time for us to end this fear-based game on planet Earth and wake up to who we are. Folks, we're made of this stuff called love. If you're languishing in a fear-based system, get the hell out. It's crazy. We don't need to be doing that to ourselves, to each other. It's just time to finish the insanity of pretending that fear and anger will get us anywhere. Actually, Dr. Tim last week shared with us a blog from his blog that he did a blog on how anger was destructive and how many angry people came back to him because he was dissing anger and how anger is so good for you and how it's so useful, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, hello. And I love a quote from Einstein, and what Einstein says about anger is that anger only exists in the bosom of fools. How does that work? Yeah, he was absolutely right on track. That's where the anger is. And anger really compromises our intelligence. And the authorities of the world want us to stay in that anger because when we stay in that anger, we're not very smart. We're quite controllable. And it's time for us to give up the game of controlling and being controlled and become conscious users, conscious creators of our lives, and exchange the insanity of a mind of hostility and fear for a true human mind and a true human life, the active presence of love. So that's what
Michael, we have a caller.
Oh, cool. Let's go for it.
Area code 607, you're on the air.
Hey, Michael, it's Richard again. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. So I was just listening in your discussion, and I did listen to that the worksheet program that you did earlier in the week, and that's excellent. I really enjoyed it. And anyway, you were talking about anger here, and I just wanted to chime in about your the idea of how destructive anger is. I mean, I went through a very angry period in my life and actually almost ended up dying because of that. And that's when I came to the realization that anger only hurts yourself. But more importantly was I did that worksheet yesterday regarding the ticket and my getting upset and this and that, and coming home and realizing I was still upset about it. And when I did the worksheet, one of the realizations I had was that, you know, I was trying to use anger to get my way. And I realized that that's the way I've been treated. Anger is always a way to get something that other people wanted me to do.
Yes, that's the modeling of the world.
Yeah, and I was just going to comment and saying, yeah, you're exactly right down to the T on that in terms of anger. And again, I want to come back to your Memorial Day thing of letting go of that anger, you know, letting that go and replacing it with love. And I appreciate the work you do. And again, it's letting go of this fear and hostility and replacing it with love. Thank you very much.
Delighted. Glad to be on the team and glad to share the tools with you. And we'll look forward to seeing you at teacher training next year. I'm delighted that you're going to come back to do that. So,
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
By the way, I have a suggestion.
Sure.
You might go back to the person you turned that ticket into, or drop a note to the officer that gave the ticket to you, and thank them for showing you your anger and giving you the opportunity to heal that. And when we start to acknowledge people for the gifts they give us, even though we may struggle against those gifts at first, you know, the learning that comes with it comes easier and easier and easier. And, you know, life doesn't have to come kick us quite so hard. When there's a lesson we don't want to learn, we can learn it more gently. So that might just be a good exercise to do.
Well, I did a mind shifter afterwards, and the mind shifter was, it's easier and easier for me to let go of anger and be love.
Awesome.
It gets easier and easier for me to let go of anger and be love.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we recognize that, in essence, whoever I point my anger at, here's what the net impact of anger is. When I point my anger at somebody else, what I'm saying is, I want you to change my mind. I want you to fix what's going on inside of me, which, of course, is ludicrous. But that's what the world does, is it teaches us that that's a tool to get other people to change, and the unconscious wish is that if they change, then I won't have to feel this anymore. But, of course, then I just have to turn around and find another place to feel it again and again and again. There's a book about that, I think, Richard. You might want to look at it.
Right.
Why is this happening to me again?
There you go. Well, in that situation, the reality was, I you know, to be honest with you, I probably deserved the ticket, but I really didn't want to pay it. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye. Let's see now, Richard. Let's see. I was 15 minutes over the meter, was expired. I hadn't paid for it, and they give tickets for that. Yeah, maybe there isn't even a maybe. I deserved it. But anyway. Delighted. Thank you, Richard.
Lynn is on. Lynn's on in the
there
chat room. And she's not on the phone. She's in the chat room. And she says, I'm surprised at how helpful it is for me to hear your recaps, Michael, of the work that I did on the show. It's so profoundly reshaping my life. It doesn't get any better than tapping into love and gratitude.
Oh, you got that one. I'm with you 100%. We actually had someone at the intensive 2 weeks ago, and they were pretty angry about some things. There was a lot of hostility and interactions with others. And finally there was a point actually after a breath session where she really tapped into her essence of love. And she drew several hearts on her in a page in her book and said and wrote, "Love feels better." Went around to everybody in the room. I guess it was kind of a form of apology, but she walked around with the book to everybody in the room that she'd been pointing her anger at and held the book up to them. and her words were love feels better. And yeah, when you realize that you can live your life without any form of hostility or fear and be more powerful at creating what you want. You know, somehow or other we've been given the message that, well, if I get upset enough, then people will give me what I want. Well, that's kind of like what 3-year-olds do. That's a temper tantrum. That's not what a creative human being does. And in our creatorship is such power, and the way we sap away our power is through hostility and fear. And so the whole process of forgiveness is about letting go of that hostility and fear. And again, Lynn, you've touched a lot of people with that show. I mean, we've had people downloading it and calling us, and we were actually listening to it in the classroom last night. You were so inspiring.
I told her Dr. Tim also played it for his support group and said that it was one of the best sessions that they had. It's a very powerful show, very, very powerful way of going through the worksheet and showing how you tapped from one worksheet to another and how you tapped back into some old stuff in your life. And it was just a really, really powerful show, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, and Dr. Tim, you know, he's been doing his support group up in Chicago area for 6 years now. He said it was one of the most powerful support groups they'd had in 6 years. That's a lot of support groups, and Tim is an awesome therapist, and he actually has shared on a couple of shows since how it inspired him and opened some spaces up and some new things he's seeing for himself in his own life, you know, and it's just fabulous. So if you have the space, come and join us in Chicago starting on the 21st. We're going to actually, on the website, maybe you can pop the link in the chat room, sweetie. On the
I've
website,
already put the flyer out there.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. So on the website is the flyer for the week of workshops in Chicago. We'd be delighted if you'd come and join us, and or if you've got another venue in Chicago, we're looking to perhaps stay for still an extra week, and that would be awesome. And then in September, the 16th through the 24th, Intuitive Development. Intuitive Development is a fun class. It's very experiential, and a lot of process work gets done because the thing that blocks intuition is our hostility and fear. And so that's why the forgiveness and the MindShifters and Still Point Breathing will be part of that process, because the moving out of the way of the blocks. You know, think about, you know, little Johnny goes out now. The child I would offer that's still living a human life, living in being, has access to everything around them all the time. So, you know, imagine little Johnny goes out, you know, he's 2.5, and he walks out into the backyard where Mom's standing talking over the fence to Mrs. Jones next door. And Johnny lives in the energetic field of what's going on and knows what's going on. And, you know, Mr. Jones comes out and gives his wife a peck on the cheek and goes off to work. And Johnny watches the energy between them, knows exactly what it is, and pipes up because he doesn't know you're not supposed to tell the truth. And he pipes up and says, "Gee, Mr. Jones, why do you hate your wife so much?" Mom turns around, whack in the face, "How dare you say such a thing?" And Johnny gets the message, you're not supposed to live in intuition. You're not supposed to know what's going on. You're supposed to go along with the lies of the world. Forgiveness moves out the lies of the world so that you open the intuitive faculty and have direct access to everything going on around you all the time. It's an awesome space to live from, and each and every one of us are capable of living from that space. And when we live from that space, we get to create the best year yet of our eternal lives. And that's our vote for you. Bring a stranger with you to the show tomorrow. We're delighted to be here to support you. Blessings.
Not tomorrow, Monday. On Monday.
On Monday, pardon me, yes.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.
Continuously.